52. That's how many rectangles of coated paper there are in a standard deck of cards. But have you ever stopped to ask how they're made? Not just slapped together in someone's basement. Oh no. The process is part science, part sorcery, and every single card is engineered to survive shuffles, spills, and your cousin's terrible sleight of hand. Behind each deck is a billion-dollar industry with secrets they don't want you to know. From raw paper to a perfectly smooth casino-ready finish, we're about to break down how playing cards are created. And trust me, it's not what you think. Playing cards are one of the most versatile creations in human history, used for games, gambling, magic tricks, and even fortune-telling. First appearing in 9th century China, they've traveled across continents, morphing into the sleek decks we shuffle today. Modern playing cards are usually made of coated paper or plastic, designed for durability and smooth handling. Did you know poker cards are just one flavor of playing cards? While poker decks focus on high-stakes games like Texas Hold'em, tailored for strategy and bluffing, standard playing cards adapt to everything, from family classics like Go Fish and Solitaire to Vegas-style blackjack and even street magic. Every day, millions of decks roll off factory lines, over 1 billion annually, with companies like Bicycle and Copag dominating the market. Chances are, whether it's on a casino table or in a magician's hand, you've either already crossed paths with them today, or you will soon. The production of playing cards begins with an impressive starting material: massive rolls of poker paper. These rolls aren't your everyday paper. They're custom designed to meet the specific demands of playing cards, sourced from factories that tailor them to exact specifications. Each roll can weigh up to a staggering 1 ton, requiring heavy-duty equipment just to move them safely. Wrapped in durable brown paper for protection during shipping, these rolls are shielded from moisture, tearing, and other potential damage that could ruin their quality. Without this protective packaging, the paper wouldn't survive the transport, and with stakes this high, no shortcuts are taken. When the rolls arrive at the factory, the process begins with careful preparation. A worker starts by removing the shipping label attached to the outer wrapping. This label verifies critical details like the roll's source, confirming that the factory is working with the right material. Precision matters from the very beginning, and no one skips this check. Once the label is removed, the worker uses a sharp cutting tool, such as a knife or box cutter, to slice through the brown wrapping. This is deliberate and methodical, peeling back the packaging layer by layer to fully reveal the pristine poker paper beneath. With the outer wrapping gone, it's time to stabilize the roll for the next phase. A sturdy metal pipe is inserted through the roll's central core, replacing any internal support structures. This pipe is then secured with a bolt and nut assembly, which is tightened using heavy-duty tools like this oversized adjustable wrench or spanner. This isn't your standard toolbox gear. These tools are built for industrial applications and see to it that the pipe is locked firmly in place. Why all the effort, you ask? Well, even the slightest wobble or imbalance would damage the roll, disrupting everything. Plus, you wouldn't want this accidentally rolling onto your leg, I can tell you that for sure. Once stabilized, the roll is ready to move, and here's where the heavy lifting happens. An industrial hoist, think cranes or high-capacity lifting devices, is brought in to transport the roll to its designated spot on the production line. These machines, which can cost tens of thousands of dollars depending on their specs, are indispensable for managing the sheer weight of the roll. Once lifted into position, the roll is locked into a feeding mechanism. This setup resembles a conveyor belt but is far more precise, advancing every inch of the paper into the initial set of rollers at a carefully controlled pace. As the paper advances, it reaches the stage where intricate designs are imprinted onto its surface. This is where the magic of playing card aesthetics begins. Using laser-engraved molds, the factory creates the detailed patterns that give playing cards their look. Laser engraving is a technique that uses focused beams of light to etch designs directly onto the mold surfaces. These molds ensure that the patterns transfer perfectly onto the paper without any distortion. 7 molds are used to create the various parts of the cards: front, back, black, red, blue, yellow, and a combination of yellow, red, and blue for reverse colors. To install the molds, workers manually secure each one using screws, bolts, and specialized tools. Once the molds are locked in place, the real action begins. The high-speed printing phase. This is where the blank poker paper transforms into something recognizable. The paper glides through a series of ink rollers, each loaded with one of 4 primary colors: blue, red, black, and yellow. These rollers lay the colors with accuracy, giving a vibrant, even print. To keep things running smoothly at such high speeds, the system relies on a clever piece of engineering: negative pressure. By creating a vacuum effect, this system keeps the paper securely fed into the rollers, preventing misalignment or dreaded paper jams. As soon as the printing is complete, the paper moves to the next stage: paste making. Here, a starch-based glue-like solution is evenly applied across the surface of the paper using another set of rollers. This paste refines the card's texture, creating a smooth surface that allows them to handle beautifully in your hands and shuffle with ease. Plus, the paste adds durability, reinforcing the paper to withstand the wear and tear of countless games of poker, solitaire, or whatever else you're playing. Next up is the powder slurry application, which takes the paper's finish from good to great. The slurry is a mix of fine abrasive particles suspended in a liquid, like water or oil, designed to polish the surface. These particles gently buff away any microscopic irregularities, creating a professional-grade finish. It's the kind of detail you might not notice immediately, but can definitely feel when handling a high-quality deck. Throughout this entire journey, nothing is left to chance. Workers monitor every stage using digital interfaces that resemble computer screens. These systems display real-time data, giving operators control to make adjustments on the fly if needed. After playing cards are printed, they face their first major test: an industrial oven. This isn't your everyday toaster, it's a machine running at scorching temperatures of 176 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, aka 80 to 100 degrees Celsius. The goal? To eliminate every trace of moisture lingering in the cards. But why does this even matter? Well, any leftover dampness would compromise the integrity of the paper or coating, making all the work up to this point essentially pointless. Depending on the materials used, the cards spend about 10 to 20 minutes drying. Meanwhile, the factory doesn't just sit back and wait. High-speed cameras and lighting systems get to work, scanning each card in real time. These are engineered to catch the tiniest flaws, whether it's a misaligned print, uneven cut, or coating defect. This system is designed to eliminate errors before they become costly mistakes. Are you with me so far? Great! Once the drying and inspections are complete, the cards move to the cutting phase. The cutting phase starts with rotary cutters, machines valued anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 depending on their features. These cutters use razor-sharp circular blades to slice the printed sheets into individual cards with near-perfect accuracy. It's basically a line of pizza cutters, but scaled up and engineered to handle the demands of mass production. As the sheets roll through, the cutters keep everything aligned. Skilled workers oversee everything, double-checking that everything is running as planned. After the cutting, the cards are stacked into neat piles. This organization is another chance to catch errors. Workers inspect the stacks to confirm that every card is cut evenly and that the piles are aligned well. Now the cards are ready for the sorting phase. Here, strips of cards are loaded into machines. High-speed cameras scan each card, verifying that every deck contains the correct number of cards. 54, including 2 jokers. These cameras also ensure there are no duplicates or missing cards. To prevent any shifting during inspection, blue rollers hold the card securely in place. If a card is missing, no problem. The machine can automatically replace it, a feature that saves time and avoids headache. Another round of inspections takes place here, confirming that the cards are ready for packaging and shipping. Thanks to this level of automation, this particular factory can produce up to 200,000 decks of cards in a single day. After the cards are printed and cut, there's still one more finishing touch to perfect their design: rounding the edges. To achieve this, the cards go through a rounded corner die cutter. Using sharp, durable blades mounted on a rotating die, this machine trims the corners with incredible precision. The result? Smooth, rounded edges that are far less likely to fray over time, making the cards more comfortable to handle. Depending on the model and capacity, these cutters can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. They make certain every card has the same polished look and feel, with no sharp edges to snag or wear out. With the edges perfectly trimmed, the cards move on to the packaging stage. At this point, they're neatly sorted into stacks, but not yet boxed. Workers step in here, manually loading the stacks into packaging machines. Once loaded, the packaging machines take over, wrapping each deck in a core heat shrink material. This material is heated until it tightly conforms around the deck, creating a secure and protective seal. But the packaging doesn't stop at shrink wrapping. To enhance the appearance and usability of the decks, gold embossing is often added during this stage. If you've ever noticed the elegant finish on the packaging of premium decks, or even cigarette boxes, you'll recognize this figure. The embossing makes the packaging easier to grip and open while giving the final product a polished look that stands out on store shelves. Once the individual decks are wrapped and embossed, it's time for the final phase, boxing and labeling. Workers manually place the packaged decks into larger boxes with care. Each box is labeled with a unique number, either as a barcode or serial code, which gives complete traceability. But why does this matter? If a batch ever has a quality issue or recall, manufacturers can quickly identify and track down the affected products. Being accountable and sticking to high standards just makes things way easier when you're running a business. The larger boxes can hold anywhere from 20 to 50 decks, depending on the order requirements. Once the decks are safely boxed, workers secure the boxes with zip ties to prevent them from opening during transit. These boxes are then stacked onto pallets, which are transported to the shipping area. From here, the pallets are ready to be distributed to retailers, wholesalers, or customers such as yourself. By the time the cards reach their destination, they're ready to impress, no matter how they're used. Whether the final product is a standard deck of playing cards, a custom set of tarot cards, or a specialized design for collectors, each deck leaves the production line looking and feeling fresh. But what if the stakes aren't just about cards in hand? What if that piece of paper could change your life? That's where lottery tickets come in. Much like a carefully crafted deck, each lottery ticket is designed, printed, and secured with care. But personally, I'd say the process behind a lottery ticket is even more fascinating. Let's take a closer look. Every lottery ticket starts with a simple idea, but that idea is carefully crafted to eventually make its way into millions of hands. You're talking about a detailed plan with set prize amounts, odds, and themes. This concept is where it all begins, and it'll eventually guide everything from the artwork to the final print run. Now, here's where the real work starts. That initial idea gets handed off to a team of artists who create the ticket's visual identity. These are the people who design every little detail, the colors, the fonts, the layout, and even know how the odds and prize info are presented. Their goal is to design something that grabs attention and makes people want to scratch. And trust me, it takes a good amount of trial and error before the final design is locked in and approved. You think the ticket is just a design? Think again. The software behind it all makes certain that every ticket has a fair chance of winning. It's pure data science. The software takes the randomness up a notch, creating unpredictable outcomes that can't be tampered with. All the data is encrypted and carbon layers and other features are added to prevent anyone from seeing that data ahead of time. No one, not even the designers, know what the prizes are until that ticket is scratched. How's that for security? Now, we're getting into the nuts and bolts. This is where the ticket gets printed. High-speed inkjet printers take the encrypted data and print it directly onto the ticket. Interestingly, the data isn't visible yet. It's covered by a layer of scratch-off coating. So while the tickets are rolling off the press, you could say they're just paper until that final scratch happens. Now comes testing, as you've got to be sure that the ticket can't be compromised, right? That's where the quality control team comes in. Every batch of tickets goes through a rigorous set of tests. Is the ink right? Does the scratch-off material work? Can anyone figure out the prize before it's scratched? The tickets are even put through the vodka steam test. Yep, they're soaked in vodka and iron to ensure nothing can break the seal. No shortcuts. Once everything checks out, these tickets are carefully sealed and tracked, and then packed up and shipped off. Once they hit the retailer, they're scanned, and that's when they finally have value. It's a secure process all the way to the store. Now the moment of truth, the ticket hits the shelf. A player buys it, scratches it, and boom, reveals the prize. All that behind-the-scenes work, from concept to encryption, has led up to this one moment. Whether they win or not, that's the payoff. But the best part is that every ticket is created with the promise that the game is fair. The data is locked down tight and the outcome is totally unpredictable. Now, starting at number 5 and counting down to number 1, here are the top 5 most interesting and lesser-known fun facts about playing cards. Are you ready? Did you know playing cards literally held the keys to freedom? During World War II, the United States and Britain teamed up to create special decks for prisoners of war. These cards looked ordinary at first glance, but when soaked in water, they revealed maps of escape routes. Can you picture it? A soldier in a dingy cell, shuffling cards and planning their getaway with a sly grin? Pretty clever, right? These map decks were smuggled into enemy territory via care packages marked as innocent gifts. Playing cards, the original jailbreak toolkit. In 18th century England, the Ace of Spades wasn't just a card, it was a tax receipt. Yep, thanks to King James I and Queen Anne, card manufacturers had to pay taxes, and to prove they'd done so, they had to stamp the Ace of Spades with a government seal. Messing with this card was a big no-no, punishable by, drumroll please, death. That's right, counterfeit an Ace of Spades, and you'd find yourself on a one-way trip to the gallows. So next time you're holding that iconic card, remember, it was once worth more than its weight in gold. Or your life, apparently. Ever notice the hidden patterns in a standard deck? It's like a tiny calendar disguised as game night entertainment. There are 52 cards in a deck, one for each week of the year. The 4 suits represent the 4 seasons, and the 13 cards per suit, that's a nod to the 13 weeks in each season. Add up all the pips, that's the fancy term for the little suit symbols, and you'll get 365, the number of days in a year. Coincidence? Maybe. Genius? Definitely. Who needs Google Calendar when you've got a deck of cards? Have you ever taken a good look at the King of Hearts? You might notice something a little grim. Unlike his fellow kings, this guy looks like he's stabbing himself in the head with a sword. This odd design earned him the nickname Suicide King. But here's the twist. It wasn't intentional. Back in the day, card designs were hand-carved into wood blocks, and over time, those details got a little, well, fuzzy. The original artwork probably showed the king holding a battle axe, but somewhere along the line it morphed into him offing himself with a sword. Dark, sure, but also a little poetic, don't you think? If you think splurging on a rare Pokemon card is a flex, wait till you hear about the oldest complete deck of playing cards in existence, the Stuttgart playing cards. This hand-painted beauty dates back to the 15th century and was crafted for German nobility. It's now valued at over $143,000. Each card is a literal work of art, featuring intricate designs and colors that were painstakingly applied by hand. Forget playing a casual game of Go Fish with this deck. One wrong move and you'd be filing for bankruptcy faster than you can shuffle. If someone handed you a deck worth $143,000, would you lock it away or risk playing a game with it? Comment below. I need to know what you'd do. Playing cards are more than just 52 rectangles of coated paper. The tiny pieces of art have entertained, baffled, and bankrupted people for centuries. And now you know exactly how they're made. And since you're already here, you might as well check out our other videos. The video we posted before this one might just shock you.